Conrad, you're living in Ontario now, but what is your connection to Newfoundland?
Well, I was born here in Baie Verte, Newfoundland. I grew up, I spent the first 19 years of my life in Baie Verte, and my family is still there, so I get back as often as I can. So it's still home to me, and it will be, I guess, for as long as I live. I live in where I can work as far as pursuing my art, where it makes it easier for me there, because there's a market there, what have you, or you know, being from Newfoundland, I guess it's a dichotomy in that sense, where I'm doing something that's not from where I'm working, or it's from where I live. I grew up, but it's not from where I'm working. So it's a dichotomy in that sense, where I'm getting a lot of positive feedback for what I'm doing. Those people don't totally relate to it. There's a bit of a mystique in it, in that sense, because it's away from where they live, but I get, you know, very positive feedback. And so I guess that's basically why I'm still there, that I get enough positive response to keep me there.
What took you up along in the first place?
Well, school. I studied in St. John's here for a while, but to find something else, I had to leave the island, and I ended up in Brampton, Ontario with Sheridan College with a creative art program, but I quit that after my first year. And I guess I started applying myself directly, and I ended up in Hamilton in a situation that enabled me to work quite, I guess, quite freely with the painting and such, without having to get a lot of extraneous work to support myself. So in that sense, I think that being there helped me develop. I think had I gone somewhere else, I don't think I would have fallen into a situation that would have enabled me to develop as quickly as I have, because I think I've got a head start because of that, you know, on a lot of other artists.
Are you supporting yourself completely with your art now?
Yeah, yes, well, I have for the past 5-6 years.
How long have you been painting seriously then?
Well, I finished school. It was in, I guess, 72 or somewhat like that. So about the past 10 years, I've been applying myself. I didn't really do painting as such in school, but I learned more or less, it was a submersion thing as such. You learn a lot of different medium. The actual painting has been since the past, 10 years or so. But I had been doing, prior to that, I had been working on my own or through high school and such like that. So it goes back further, but actually seriously applying myself at 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Have you been mostly concerned with Newfoundland themes?
Pretty well. From studying in school, you tend not to look around you as much, or because it tends to be influenced from books, and which a lot of it has to do with, the influence has to do with the New York school and what have you, so you tend to do things in line with that. But once I got out and started looking around, or I came back to Newfoundland a couple of years after I got out of school, and then I did my first paintings relating directly to Newfoundland like this, and it was more or less a watershed of imagery. I guess it's still coming out.
They say you can take the boy out of the bay, but you can't take the bay out of the boy, so
yes,
it's
I think
kind of that with you, is it?
Very true. And I hope it always stays with me. I'm sure eventually I'll move on to other things, which, well, it's happening now anyway, but probably, the further along I get, maybe this will be more distant, but I hope I'll always retain something of it, and as you say, I'm sure it'll always be in me.
Let's talk about this show for a bit then. The theme is resettlement. Why have you chosen that theme? I think maybe a lot of people might consider that a dead issue now. What does it mean to you?
Well, in looking around me, I haven't really seen a lot of things done specifically on it. Whether it makes people question what happened or what have you, like I say, I hadn't really found much, and I've had to dig deep to find what I have. So I don't think it's dead maybe because it's buried, not because it's been brought out into the open and discussed. But it's something that I feel is close to a lot of Newfoundlanders. I wasn't resettled myself, but even in that, I find it touches me because the people around me had to experience it. I'm not doing it in a political sense, whether it's pro or con. I'm sure some people did benefit from it, and then again, I'm sure other people were adversely affected. So I guess you can take either side that you want, but that's all part of it. If people start discussing it, then I think it may be dead, but then it'll be, I think, properly buried.
Mm-hmm. There was quite a concern in the arts community here, I think maybe 10 years or so ago, plays and so on written about it. Were you ever touched by that, or have you
I
been
wasn't
too
really
far?
exposed to it, no. Well, I guess I wasn't here at the point. So I follow my own development in that sense, you know. So if I come later, that's fine.
Is there a message, a deliberate message to these paintings as such, a sociological interest, or what would you say?
Well, in a general sense, I'm not, as I say, I wasn't directly influenced, so it's not a specific point. To me, it's I guess it's a symbolic, the paintings I'm doing are a symbolic message in a sense. The image that I use is the house on the water, and it reoccurs throughout all of the paintings on that theme, where the house on the water symbolizes to me how the people must have felt at that point, where there must have been I guess the lack of foundation in their lives from before, where it was obvious to them what they could have, you know, or would be doing when they grew up, or what have you, if they carried on what was happening before. But once they moved to a different location or situation, then there was a void, where, you know, what am I going to do? You know, I think that it created that lack of a foundation.
It's interesting you mentioned that lack of foundation, because the pictures that show the houses on the water, you get the very distorted reflection underneath, which seems to suggest that too in a visual way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess again, as I say, the image is symbolic in that sense, but I guess it works on a number of different levels, where the foundation is fuzz, where people, they really don't know where they stand. I think it was a loss of identity in that sense, where before it was, you know, it was cut and dried who they were and, you know, what they did. I guess it was somebody that said that, I think it was Mr. Smallwood in that sense, who said that, I don't know whether he was quoting somebody else, but he said the rural people of any society are the ones that are the most stable, and they're like the stablest part of a society. But then for that government to turn around and to destroy that, you know, it seemed to be going counter to what he thought was the strongest in himself.
It's interesting, I guess, that you have been resettled yourself in a sense, although it's been a willing resettlement. Do you feel that kind of lack of foundation yourself living away, or?
Well, I remember, I guess, strongly from being at a late school age, going through a stage where I really there was a void there for me, where I could see that, have my father, what have you, been working, I guess, as they did in the past, that I could see what I would be doing, but he was working in the mills or in the mines, and I didn't really see myself as picking up and, you know, carrying on to contribute to a lifestyle as such. It was more or less, it was a job and what have you, but there wasn't that continuity that was there in the past.
Could we talk a little bit about your style? It's a very interesting stylized shapes and so on you use, especially the shapes of the boats. I think there are something that immediately strikes the viewer, strikes me at least. Where does that come from? Where does that originate from?
Well, I work in a very simplistic sense. I guess I like to get down to the basics of what I'm doing. I don't like too much detail or what have you. But when I'm painting, I work from my mind, but I work directly on the canvas, and I like to put lines on the canvas and pull the image out from there. And in a sense, the lines conform to the original just doodles or sketches. So that causes a distortion within the painting, which I guess lends to the interesting shapes.
Who are your artistic heroes, your artistic influences? Looking at the figures, there's a sort of Picasso-esque quality about them, I think.
Yeah, in studying, I guess primarily when I was in school, Picasso, Chagall, and a number of people like that were the strongest influence on me. And I guess it's inevitable that they will come through. But if I see something really obvious, I'll stay away from it. So I guess what I'm doing, I feel, is, you know, my own, although there is a combination of those other people that have influenced me. I guess everybody goes through that, whether it's whoever it is. that I guess no matter what, nothing is really new. It's a combination of things that have already been done in that sense.
The show features not only paintings but sculpture as well. Do you have any preference between the two forms?
Well, I guess they're both enjoyable. I guess the sculpture is a lot more labor intensive, so I don't get as much sculpture done. I guess about 10 to 1 in that sense. I get one sculpture done for about 10 paintings, but they're both enjoyable, and hopefully I'll continue doing both of them. You know, maybe the sculpture will become more prominent at different stages or what have you. But the sculpture I've been doing just for the past couple of years, starting out with the limestone and the sandstone pieces, and the past year or so I've been working with bronze, starting directly in the wax or in clay, and then translating that into bronze pieces.
Could we talk a little bit about the individual pieces? There's the piece of the couple dancing.
Yeah, that's a sandstone piece with, I guess it's a little different than the others in that it has, the space goes inside of the two figures, where on the others I tended to keep the shape of the original stone, although the outside shape of that stone is there, which causes one figure to be smaller than the other, conforming to the original stone, because I guess I find that's partly what the inspiration is, looking at the stone and picking out the image. But as I say, that one has more of an inside shape, so it's more complex than the other two.
What about the limestone piece then?
Yeah, the man with the net is I guess as I said, it conforms to the stone, but it has, I guess, a religious quality in a sense, where the figure is lifting up the net. Also, the bronze one, they both have pretty much the same pose, although they're doing different things. But I find that, I guess, unconsciously, it's come out to be sort of almost like an offering in a sense, where they're offering out what they do. So it's kind of interesting to look back at once I've done it, because I find when I'm working, I don't think too much about the message in the piece. I'm more concerned with making that piece work. So after, I'll go back and look and see what I've done. So it's kind of interesting for me as well. So I can be a spectator from time to time as well.
So as you're working, you're thinking more in terms of form.
Yeah. So just to me, if I can make the piece work, then the message is there. You know, but it's secondary when I'm actually doing the piece. So in a sense, I'm working intuitively as far as the message goes.
So when you say to make the piece work, you're looking for some kind of harmony that appeals to you as you're working?
Well, harmony within the piece, well, I guess it has to work compositionally, where I guess the form can't be falling over. You know, I guess I like it to be solid and stand on its feet. If a figure looks like it's going to fall over, that means the composition doesn't work, and it probably will fall over.
Getting back to the foundation once again.
Yeah.
Is there any connection between the sculpture and the painting as far as the way you work, the shape of the forms, that sort of thing?
Well, yeah, pretty much. Well, the themes are much the same, dealing with people and such. Predominantly, the pieces in this show are to do with the resettlement, but there are some other pieces. The one with the dancers with the time, and the 3 others with the jiggers, the people in the boat jigging for fish or squid. But the shape and the forms of the people have always, to me, had a sculptural quality, so it's almost like a natural step to translate that into 3-dimensional forms.
It's interesting that you like sculpture, because looking at the paintings, you don't go out of your way to develop a lot of perspective, a lot of shadows, that sort of thing. You deliberately avoid that in the paintings.
Yeah, I guess it comes back to the distortion. I'm not. I create a plane within the piece, a plane that the objects sit on, whether it's the plane is water that the houses and the boats sit on, or whether it's an interior scene that the figures are walking around on. But other than that, there's really no perspective, because sometimes I'll make the figures in the background larger than the ones in the foreground, so there's a distortion there. The only perspective would be basically from the situation or the environment that I create, the plane that I create.
A lot of these works are done in a triptych form. Why have you chosen that style?
Well, it's something that I've worked in for, I guess, a number of years, and I did want to pursue that. It's also a practical sense as well, with wanting to work large, but also making it easy to handle. But the triptych format itself is I guess it was originally a religious format, which I always I always come back to that. I guess having a strong religious background, there tends to be an underlying element there. So I guess it was one of the things I noticed earlier on, or picked up on earlier on, was the triptych format. While I'm using it in more of a practical sense, originally the triptychs were almost like three separate paintings put together to make one. I tend to make one whole piece just using that format.
Yes, because they cross over from panel to panel.
Well, it could be just, well, it's basically one painting that's on 3 panels as opposed to 3 paintings put together to make one. But there were other, I guess it's not new. I've seen it done in an abstract sense as well, or other people have done it, so it's not new to use it in this format, although I find that I like it more this way. Some of them are more, I framed them as 3 separate panels and put them together, while others I've put together without putting the bars in between the panels. So those are more of one piece, while the others are more defined as being 3 panels, have somewhat of I guess, a movie screen format as well, or the stop action of a movie format.
As if it's individual frames of film.
Yeah, yeah. I've worked on a number of themes. When I work on a theme, sometimes the paintings within that theme, I could put them on a wall and they almost become as if it's a movie. You watch a figure doing a walk, where one painting has a figure's walking here, and the next one he's made another step. So in one sense, if I put that theme on the wall, it could have that. It has a characteristic like that, although they don't follow true. But I guess that's what is another thing that I do like about the triptych, that it has a bit of that quality to it.
What kinds of transitions have you been going through as an artist? How does this show differ from, let's say, the last one you did here in St. John's?
The main change has been in the color that I've been using. Right now I'm using acrylic, I guess, as a medium. Well, before I was working predominantly in oil, and the change has been with the acrylic. It has a lighter quality to it. They aren't as bright as the older ones. Plus, when I was using oil, I was using it almost straight from the tube. There was more, so it had that intensity of the individual colors. And now with the acrylic, I'm mixing the colors together more, and it's more of I'll mix opposites together gray, so these paintings are more toned down as such. But I guess had I started using the acrylic and kept it straight from the tube, there would be a similarity to the others. It would probably be closer, but I've also started to grade them down, so there is more of a change in the color. Although the themes and the forms have stayed fairly much the same. I guess the change has been more technical as opposed to to do with the themes.
There is one picture here that harkens back, I guess, to your days of using oil that you've included in the show.
Yeah, the squid jiggers was done in '79, around the time of the last show here, although I didn't bring it with me. I guess it's a triptych as well, so I included it in this show, so it does give a relationship between the old ones and the new, so the difference is obvious with the intensity of the color and such. Also, the older ones, I've found that the compositions were more intuitive as such. Now, I find them maybe becoming a little too refined, where all my objects within the panels are contained within the square. While with the older ones, I tended to break the sides of the square, and that's a characteristic that is in the older one.
On a practical level, Conrad, how do you work? Are you a fairly disciplined, sort of everyday 9 to 5
Well, I
painter?
have a family, so I guess I like to spend time with them as well. So I work, I guess, the same as anybody else. I work during the day. Well, I go back in at night sometimes, but my wife works, so when she's off at work, I can work as well. So there's no distractions that way. I did work at home for a while, but I found there was too many distractions with putting out the garbage or what have you. A nice thing about working when everybody else is working is I find that being an artist, oftentimes people don't look at you as being working, so that it's too easy for them to call on you to help them do something or what have you. So it's kind of nice to work when everybody else is working, to avoid that.
So your studio is away from your home altogether?
Yeah, I do have it. Yeah. Yeah, it is separate. It's just a warehouse, and I share it with a number of other artists. And we all keep fairly strict hours, or we work, I guess, quite a lot. It's all I do. I don't have to work at anything else, so I can work 9 to 5 in that sense if I want to.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a pretty close relationship with other artists up in Ontario and so on?
Yeah, I have a number of good friends who are artists. Our styles are not divergent, but I guess you can understand what somebody's doing without really doing that thing yourself. So it's good in that sense. I always have somebody to talk with as far as our situations are similar in that we're dependent on our art for a livelihood. So we have, I guess enough to build relationships with in that sense as far as having similarities.
Mm-hmm. Offer each other constructive criticism and that sort of thing?
Well, we do that as well. I find not everybody, but there are a few people who we can offer criticisms to each other on particular pieces, or, on whether it's to do with helping bring some funds in as well. There's always that, because we all need some money to survive.
Mm-hmm. Where do you show your work up there?
I show in Toronto, Hamilton, and I have a gallery in Edmonton. But I predominantly show in Ottawa, or just outside of Ottawa. I have a gallery, Trumboten Gallery. And they actually have done the best up there. Because I guess the government economy hasn't been hurt like everybody else.
What about back here? Do you have any connections with artists back here?
Yeah, there are a few artists that I know here. I guess I don't know everybody, but I don't get back often enough. But I have a few friends here who are artists, so that is kind of nice as well. Have somebody to associate when I'm here.
Well, what about the future now? What are your plans? Are you working on another show now?
Well, I have when I get back on the 17th, I have a show up in Ottawa at the gallery I mentioned. But after that, I'll have probably a show in the spring in Toronto. And then the following fall, I'll probably be back up in Ottawa.
Are these different works than what we're seeing here?
Yes, they will be. Well, the show for Ottawa is finished already. This show has been done for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. Is this the first place these have been shown, or?
Yes, I did them specifically for here. Other than the one from '79.
Yes. What about the other paintings that you're doing or that you've already prepared? Are they in the large format as well, or do you also work in small?
No, actually, these pieces were the last ones I've done on the resettlement format. I haven't, the ones in this other show have nothing to do with this. So I guess this is stopped in that sense. The ones I'm doing for the Ottawa show are more village scenes, looking onto the land from the water, as opposed to the other way around, which I have been doing.
Do you see yourself staying with the Newfoundland themes? Is it? I suppose it's difficult to get away from it in one sense. Is there pressure on you to kind of stick with the same sorts of themes because people become familiar?
Well, there's always that pressure, I guess, economic pressure to do that. So hopefully you can change within those constraints. If you can pull people along with you and you do something, have them take that would be the ideal situation. And I find that it's pretty good that way. I can do what I want, and people will accept that. Although I find I'm a gradualist anyway. I like to change slowly as opposed to jumping around in a lot of different things. I find I'd get lost as well as everybody else would get lost as far as following what I'm doing. I think in that sense you do have to be somewhat like a performer, I think, as far as keeping your audience in line. I guess you can't jump around too much or you lose their attention, or they don't understand what's going on at all.
I guess one problem that artists do run up against is being able to promote themselves and to get their works known. Do you have any advice for local artists from your own experience? You seem to have been fairly successful in that regard. Is there a secret to it?
Well, I guess, feedback is nice. I found when I started out, I worked around the gallery. So I guess I worked in exchange for a place to work and a place to live. So that, to me, I think was a real blessing. I don't think I would have developed as quickly as I have had I not had that situation. And I left it gradually as opposed to having to move from it. So I stayed with it as long as it was necessary in that sense. But I think the main thing as far as trying to pursue the art, you have to keep your overhead down, I would feel. As far as if you get into a situation where you have to pay a lot of bills to keep up an expensive studio, you're going to have to go get a job somewhere to pay for that. So any time you spend out doing something else, that's time you could be painting. So I think, for me, that's basically what I found. If I can just spend all my time doing my work, just move along quicker, that's all. Otherwise, it'll just take that much longer.
Has living in Ontario been an advantage for you, do you think, in getting your works known?
Probably in a monetary sense, I think it's helped. With, I guess there's a larger market there as such, to be quite blunt about it.
Must be more competition, too. There are a lot more artists working.
Yeah, well, there's nobody doing what I'm doing, so there's, just competition for, I guess, within the market itself. But, I think as long as you do what you want to do, or do something that's yourself, you'll be fine.
Well, Conrad, thanks very much, and congratulations on a very fine show.
Thank you very much.